Hi guys, I am Becky Squire, and this week's article is called 7 Secrets to Discussing Sex with Your Spouse. That is a lot of S's, and I used to have a lisp, so if I get lazy and it sounds kind of like a lisp, pardon me. Most research suggests that the main causes of divorce are matters related to sex. And while there are a lot of issues that fall under that umbrella, the question that I get asked most is how to talk to your spouse about sex. Sex can be a tough subject to talk about, especially with your spouse. It requires complete vulnerability and honesty, and many couples just don't know where to start. So, I'm going to help you. The first tip is to wait for the right time. Don't blindside your spouse. If there are issues that need to be addressed, tell them that you would like to talk about it and set up a time that will work for both of you, preferably without any distractions. Many couples don't even know where to begin, and that's okay. Simply telling your spouse that you would like to talk about it is a great start. The next tip is to establish the higher desire and lower desire partner. Every relationship has a higher desire and lower desire partner. Now, being the lower desire partner does not necessarily mean that you are a low desire partner. It means that you are probably lower than your spouse, and vice versa. If you are the higher desire partner, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want it all the time. It means that your desire is higher than your partner's. Establishing the roles that you and your spouse are will open up avenues of understanding that were never there before. And remember that these roles can change throughout your lives, so keep this conversation ongoing. The next tip is to stick with one subject per conversation. There may be a variety of issues that need to be tackled when talking about intimate things with your spouse. These might include fantasies, desire, frequency, who should initiate, positions, just to name a few. So plan to only include one subject per conversation. Emotions can escalate and certain topics may trigger, so keep it as simple as possible. The next tip is to share concerns, not complaints. Begin with the goal to feel closer and connected with your spouse. Share your feelings, but avoid blaming. Staying positive will be more constructive and beneficial to the conversation as well as to your relationship. The next tip is to discuss expectations. Oftentimes we think that our spouse already knows our expectations, but those can often change, so make sure that you have this conversation. Talk with each other about your fears, desires, and concerns as well. Be honest. It is critical to talk about your deepest feelings. Give your spouse permission to say something that they might be afraid to say. Help them to feel safe and assure them that you will hear them with an open heart. The next tip is to ask open-ended questions. A good conversation needs dialogue, not just a series of yes or no questions. Help your spouse open up about the issues that you're discussing by asking open-ended questions. Things like, can you describe that for me? Or what do you mean by ... And the last tip is to focus on the future, not the past. Share with your spouse what you are hoping for long-term. What do you want your sex life to look like in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? Whatever did or didn't happen in the past is in the past. Couples who focus on blame are too wrapped up in looking backwards. So if you can keep your focus and understanding on each other and being understood yourself, then you can keep the focus forward to the future. If you are not having these conversations with your spouse regularly, it's time to start. It's important to tackle this sensitive subject together. Communication is sorely needed in our homes, especially in the bedroom. And this is a big step to making your marriage the best that it can be.